Then Ashwapati answered to the seer, is then the spirit ruled by an outward world? O seer, is there no remedy within? But what if fate? But what is fate if not the spirit's will after long time fulfilled by cosmic force? I deemed a mighty power had come with her. Is not that power the high compeer of fate?
Okay, so we got a lot to go through. The beginning is this question of Ashwapati to Narad. He asks if the spirit is ruled by an outward world. In other words, when the manifestation of life appears on earth, there is a kind of law at the level of the ignorance which says this can be, this cannot be. So when it speaks about fate or karma, it says you have to go through all the things that you didn't do correctly in a previous life. So then he has another question, and he says, is there no remedy within? In other words, can we not change our fate? And then he says, but what is fate if not the spirit's will? And that's very interesting. After a long time, fulfilled by cosmic force. So this force, this divine force, this cosmic force, he says, isn't that really what fate is? And it's fulfilled by the Spirit's will. But what is fate if it's not the Spirit's will that is fulfilled after a long time by a cosmic force? So Sri Aurobindo says the Indian explanation of fate is karma. Simply that. We ourselves are our own fate through our actions. But the fate created by us binds us. For what we have sown, we must reap in this life or another. And that's very interesting because he agrees that fate has to be reaped in this life or another life. But then he says also that still we are creating our fate for the future, even while undergoing old fate from the past in the present. Now, that gives a meaning to our will and action, and does not, as European critics wrongly believe, constitute a rigid and sterilizing fatalism. It is not a fatalism. But again, our will and action can often annul or modify even the past karma. And this is something that Mother has told us, that she can take that karma away just like that. But then Sri Aurobindo tells us that there are certain strong effects. I might have mentioned this to you before, called Utkata karma.
Yes.
Which is, we're told from the Vedas that it takes 7 years to wipe out that karma. Sri Aurobindo doesn't say it here, but he says, so he then talks about the spiritual consciousness and life that's supposed to annul or give power to annul karma. And then he says, very importantly, for we enter into union with the divine, with the will divine, cosmic or transcendent, which can annul what it had sanctioned for certain conditions, new create what it had created. The narrow, fixed lines disappear. There is a more plastic freedom and wideness. Neither karma nor astrology, therefore, points to a rigid and forever immutable fate. And that's in a letter on yoga. It's very, very powerful. So then he's still talking to Narad and he says, isn't this fate or this karma after a long time fulfilled by cosmic force? And Sri Aurobindo tells us that universal force and universal consciousness are one. Cosmic force is the operation of cosmic consciousness. I'll read that once again. After long time fulfilled by cosmic force, universal force and universal consciousness are one. Cosmic force is the operation of cosmic consciousness. So cosmic consciousness operates cosmic force. And this universal force and universal consciousness are one, very clearly. And then in the life divine, very brief but very important. As there is a cosmic self and spirit pervading and upholding the universe and its beings, so too there is a cosmic force that moves all things. And on this original cosmic force depend and act many cosmic forces that are its powers or arise as forms of its universal action. So the cosmic force basically is just masked as material energy. And it hides from our view because we're still in the process of seeing things, seeing, hearing all of these things in the ignorance and have not risen above to see what they truly are. I had a lot of trouble with this for a while because I would always ask Ranga, well, what about these millions and millions of Jews that were killed? What about these millions of Russians that were killed when Hitler went into Russia? And he says you have to rise above to the spiritual planes of consciousness to understand this concept. It was challenging for me. So now Ashwapati is going to tell Narad in the next slides. I deemed.
Uh, but I deemed a mighty power had come with her. Is not that power the high compeer of fate?
So a compeer is something, a comrade or a companion. Is that power not the companion of fate? So he's tying them together here, and I think that's very interesting because it's a preordained thing. Fate is preordained, it's destiny, it's inevitably even predetermined. But Narad is going to answer to him now. What Narad answered.
But Narad answered, covering truth with truth. O Ashwapati, random seem the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run in casual hours or moments of the gods. Yet your least stumblings are foreseen above.
And this, of course, is the great question mark for so many brilliant intellectual minds. If everything is foreseen, that means it's predestined. And yet, it is not predestined because he says, random seem the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run in casual hours or moments of the gods. And yet, your least stumblings are foreseen above. And now we have to carry on to see what he means.
Uh, Infallibly, the curves of life are drawn following the stream of time through the unknown. They are led by a clue the calm immortals keep.
Interesting. So these curves of life are drawn infallibly. In other words, they are not liable to fail. Absolutely sure they're going to happen, these curves of life. And we see that now, and I was just reading today that the far left has used up every possible way of demeaning Trump. And the only way left is assassination. Very cool. So these curves of life are drawn, and they follow the stream of time through the unknown, because the unknown is vast, and time and space are just concepts and extensions of the Godhead that is in us. So we can't say that, in this period something is going to happen or next period, because space and time are infinite. And we live in that infinity. And that infinity of time is just a manifestation of the eternal. And in the synthesis of yoga, Sri Aurobindo says something so beautiful. Time presents itself to human effort as an enemy or a friend, as a resistance, a medium, or an instrument. That's the first sentence. The second sentence, but always it is really the instrument of the soul. Time is the instrument of the soul. And so this stream of time where the curves of life are drawn and they go through the unknown, they are led by a clue the calm immortals keep. And we're going to find out a little about that clue as you read now.
This blazoned hieroglyph of prophet mourns a meaning more sublime in symbols rites than sealed thought wakes to. But of this high script, how shall my voice convince the mind of earth?
Yes, it is true, this mind of earth is not convinced of these higher things. So a blazoned hieroglyph. Blazoned is a symbol on a coat of arms. One has a blazon, okay? It was very dark in the Nazis' time when the swastika was everywhere. But we also have great blazoned things like the symbol of the fleur de lis in France. Very important. So this blazoned hieroglyph, and a hieroglyph, of course, is that pictures of things that are represented but not the actual things, like a pictographic script. Now, this prophet mourns is very important because it's a blazoned hieroglyph of these mourns that are coming in the future. And they are led by a clue that the calm immortals keep. And they are a meaning more sublime in symbols. And now we have to carry that over into these next lines. A meaning more sublime in symbols rites than sealed thought wakes to. So Sri Aurobindo is very clear. Our thought is sealed. It's sealed. It's in a box. Even the highest mind is a mind of ignorance until it can get into the higher mind and the spiritual realms of consciousness. But of this high script, and that's very important, how shall my voice convince the mind of earth? Question mark, huh? Question mark. Okay, so please carry on.
Heaven's wiser love rejects the mortal's prayer. Unblinded by the breath of his desire, unclouded by the mists of fear and hope, it bends above the strife of love with death. It keeps for her her privilege of pain.
Wow, incredible, huh? So I have to go back here to the end. So heaven's wiser love rejects the mortal's prayer because it's a prayer of desire, and heaven is not blinded by the breath of his desire. It's not even clouded by the mists of fear and hope. And then we see also that it bends, that is, heaven bends above the strife of love with death. Semicolon. It keeps for her her privilege of pain. The privilege of pain is our progress in the evolution. We all go through this pain. So let's read a little bit more. We have a little time. And this is very important because it's about Savitri. And Narad really wants Ashwapati to understand from the highest consciousness what his daughter is about.
A greatness in thy daughter's soul resides that can transform herself and all around, but must cross on stones of suffering to its goal.
Yes. So Narad has seen the whole thing. He's seen the past, present, and future of Savitri. And he sees that that greatness in her soul is there. And that greatness can transform herself and all around. And that's Mother. There's no question. But it has to cross on these stones of suffering to its goal. The great are greatest when they stand alone. The crown is given for the cross. The cross is given for the crown and hair. So many lines in Savitri have to do with the Holocaust of the divine for man, for humanity. And that's what he's speaking about here. That when the divine takes birth in a human form, it has to go through even more intensely all the things that we go through. When Narad wrote to Sri Aurobindo, and he said, you're the divine, you don't have to go through what we have to go through. And I think Sri Aurobindo said, I have to go through it 100 times more than you. And when Mother writes on the Samadhi and that great thing we received on the 9th, I'll talk to you a little bit after we finish today, because I want to talk to you about something that cannot be recorded. So, it keeps for her privilege of pain. Her is Savitri here. And then he says a greatness in Savitri's soul resides. It is there. And it has the power to transform herself and everything around. But it has to cross on stones of suffering to its goal. And you can read a little more.
Although designed like a nectar cup of heavenly ether, made she sought this air. She too must share the human need of grief, and all her cause of joy transmute to pain.
So just that first line, second line, it's made of heavenly ether. Of heavenly ether made, she sought this air. So,
Okay, I see.
yeah, it's just a way of reading it correctly.
Yeah.
So she is designed, Savitri, like a nectar cup of heaven. Oh. And she's made of this heavenly ether. But she sought this air. She came down to save. That's what he says in the very beginning under the author's note. She is from the sun and she came down to save. And but therefore, she too must share the human need of grief, and all her cause of joy transmute to pain. We cannot understand the pain that Mother went through. But Ranga has made very clear to me and to all our listeners that this is not the pain that we experience. Mother had already achieved absolutely everything, the perfect calm, the vital stillness. Only her pain was with the transformation of the body. And that's why we heard her scream, because the resistance of the physical body, matter again, was so strong. And yet she was able to transform some of the cells. And she said those cells would be with anyone who was open. Those transformed cells would enter their body. Okay, time for you to read the whole thing.
Then Ashwapati answered to the seer, is then the spirit ruled by an outward world? O seer, is there no remedy within? But what is fate if not the spirit's will, after long time fulfilled by cosmic force? I deemed a mighty power had come with her. Is not that power the high compeer of fate? But Narad answered, covering truth with truth. O Ashwapati, random seem the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run in casual hours or moments of the gods. Yet your least stumblings are foreseen above. Infallibly the curves of life are drawn, following the stream of time through the unknown. They are led by a clue the calm immortals keep. This blazoned hieroglyph of prophet mourns a meaning more sublime in symbols writes than sealed thought wakes to. But of this high script, how shall my voice convince the mind of earth? Heaven's wiser love rejects the mortal's prayer, unblinded by the breath of his desire, unclouded by the mists of fear and hope. It bends above the strife of love with death. It keeps for her her privilege of pain. A greatness in thy daughter's soul resides that can transform herself and all around, but must cross on stones of suffering to its goal. Although designed like a nectar cup of heavenly ether made, she sought this air. She too must share the human need of grief, and all her cause of joy transmute to pain.
Beautiful reading, very beautiful.
Thank you.
Great.